right? We got Major League Baseball. We got the NFL preseason football. We got WNBA tonight. We got a little golf FedEx Cup, which is still actually going on. Second round winding down. And then we get the big news from the tennis world for those that are tennis fans, as I am. So we'll get to all those stories. We'll preview all the games, give you our thoughts, as it should be, hopefully, a profitable night, right? Early start to the, you want to call it afternoon here on the East Coast, obviously, but the early start to the betting day as we have perhaps our best pitching matchup, who knows, maybe of the season, as the Atlanta Braves take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Chris Sale and Mr. Mizorowski on the hill. The over-under on this one was 6. I was saying earlier today, we've seen some 6s before. I don't remember too many 5.5s over my lifetime of doing this stuff. I really don't. Maybe the postseason, memory serves me right. There may have been a game, I forget who it was, but that kind of rings a bell of 5.5, but you don't get 5.5. You don't get 6s that often. You can literally count on one hand, maybe one or two fingers, literally, on how many 6s you see as an over-under in Major League Baseball games. So, especially now that the starters don't go long, you could get both guys throwing nothing but zeros, right? Leave after the 5th or 6th inning because, God forbid, they should actually throw over 90, 95 pitches. Then the bullpen comes in and the bullpen implodes. You're sitting there at under 6. You're thinking you're grand. It's no score in the 6th inning, and then the game ends up 5-3 because the bullpens come in and give up a bunch of runs. That's why I would never in a million years bet an under. I don't even bet under 6.5s. I really don't. I might not bet an over at 6.5, but I would not bet an under 6.5, and I certainly wouldn't bet an under on a 6 because of the things I just said. I mean, we just seen it happen too often, especially with Mizorowski on the hill, right? This would be and I'm not a big, first 5-inning guy. I know a lot of guys like that. And I understand why, Joe, as we welcome in Joe Raineri. I'm not a big first 5-inning guy, Joe, but this would be the game that if you were going to play first 5, this would be the under, which I guess it was like 3, maybe 2.5 on this one. It is 2-0 in the 4th inning.
Yeah, kind of shocking because I thought first 1-1 was going to win this game with these two guys on the mound. But enjoy these games while you can, Scotty, because they are a great peek into what we are going to get in the postseason, which, if I'm not mistaken, Scotty, there are going to be a lot of mediocre baseball teams involved in the postseason. These two teams are not going to be it. So I am going to be fascinated with how this all lines up on who gets the bye, who's playing who, because I don't trust any of these teams, certainly in the American League, but I don't trust any of these wild card teams, certainly in the National League moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the American League, Joe, we'll start there. I mean, just doing some preview, right? I mean, I got the Cleveland Guardians 4 games under 500. I got the Detroit Tigers 5 games under 500. Yep. Baltimore 6 games under 500, right? They're only 2 back, the Orioles, for the final wild card spot in the American League. 2 back, and it's 6 under 500. Yep. I mean, just awful, and it doesn't look like it's changing, Joe. I kept on waiting for a couple of these teams to separate themselves, and that would be the end of it. But you play 500 baseball in the American League, especially, you're going to get in, and the National League's not that far off. They're not that much better.
No, and listen, Atlanta, we're going to run. Atlanta's had some problems here, as good as they were early in the season, Scott. That really it isn't the teams that are great in May or June that matter. It's the teams that get really good right around this time of year and ride the momentum into the postseason. Milwaukee has been the best team in Major League Baseball from a record standpoint, and I could argue maybe they've been the best team in baseball for a while now, not named the Dodgers. They are going to be very interesting in the postseason. But right now, Atlanta shows me nothing. I'm waiting for that one team, Scott, that's going to rattle off 7 wins in a row, get really hot, and ride that momentum into the postseason. But the problem is I have no idea I don't have a feel as to what that team looks like right now.
Yeah, maybe the Phillies, Joe. You're right about the Braves, right? They just got swept by Minnesota. They lost 6 of their last 10. They did win that makeup game yesterday in Chicago, but they're 4-6 their last 10. Maybe the Phillies, that they've won 6 in a row. They started the second half of the season playing awful baseball after having that great, first half after the manager got fired and Mattingly took over. But maybe they've turned it around where they would be that hot team. I mean, we've talked about this all the time, Joe. I mean, we still got another month and almost a month and a half of the
Yep.
regular season. I mean, this regular season is so freaking long. I mean, so you
Yep.
could have a team right now that, like the Braves, that are playing bad baseball, or like the Padres, or like pick a team that is not playing great, but they still got a full month and a half to turn things around. Man, you just don't need regular season baseball in September. You really don't.
No. Well, yeah, and that'll all be worked out rather quickly by December 1st here, or maybe not. We just won't have any baseball come March there, fingers crossed. But yeah, listen, 162 games. I get what they were trying to do by adding more teams able to make the wild card and be part of the postseason. But the reality is, and this was my fear, is that all you did was give us more mediocre baseball teams. Outside of, who is it going to be? Arizona? Is it going to be who? To me, the only race left is trying to figure out in the National League which one of the, is it going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks? Is it going to be the Padres? Who's the other team that could actually leapfrog outside of those two? You know the Cubs are in. You know the Phillies are going to occupy one of those. Who's the third team in the National League, Scott?
Yeah, that might. I'm thinking the Padres have the best team, but again, I keep on waiting for them to turn it on. They've thumped themselves a little bit, 8 games over 500. I think on paper, they've hit the ball a lot better over the last couple of weeks. That they are better than Arizona, better than St. Louis and Miami, the other teams that realistically have a shot. So I would say right now the Padres. But do I think they can really beat the Dodgers or even the Brewers in the opening round? I don't think so. So what's exercise in futility
that's
anyway.
my problem. Yep, that's my problem. And the American League, congratulations. The Texas Rangers at barely 500 are going to win the West. Or maybe it's Houston. No, that's right. Houston can't beat the Angels, so we can't trust them either. I think about how bad the American League postseason is going to be. Is one of those teams all of a sudden going to get hot? I doubt it very much, Todd. I really do. It's the Yankees, Tampa, and then everybody else as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And the other thing, Joe, also is I know football's always king. I get that, right? But if it is the Texas Rangers, I mean, is the Texas fan worried about the Dallas Cowboys or a 500 Texas Ranger team, right? Even as bad as the Cleveland Browns are, right? But still, the Browns are by far the number one team. Are they more concerned about the Browns or a 500 Cleveland Guardians team? Like all these teams, Baltimore, with the Ravens, these teams that aren't really good in baseball that just happen to get in because they're the best of the worst, if you will, they're going to be overshadowed by the NFL teams in those respective cities. So it's like, it's too bad you couldn't have a rule. You got to face it, be at least 500 to make the postseason. I'd be okay with something like that.
I'm with you, man. I mean, watching the American League, the bottom of the American League, which really, watch Seattle play baseball over the last month. Tell me how nauseous you get watching them actually play, Scott. I mean, even Texas is just, they got no offense. The bottom of the American League, teams that we're talking about, Detroit's viable. What? Detroit has been terrible all year. They rattled off some wins to start the end of July and beginning of August, and now all of a sudden they're a playoff team. No, they're not. My question is Tampa here tonight, taking on Baltimore. Is Peralta going to win a game for Tampa? It was nice of them to trade for him and all, but they can't even win at home, Scott. Like, they have looked terrible over the last couple of weeks as well. So did they peak too soon is my big question. Did Tampa win far too many games early and are fading late? Let's not pretend like we have not seen that script happen an awful lot. So if you can tell me who that number one team is that's going to get red hot over the next week, let's go bet them here, Scott. We got a lot of games coming up here tonight. Maybe somebody can star in them. We'll be back, though, as Game Time Decisions continues on the Grid. right, welcome back in. Here we go. Game time decisions on this Friday. Can you believe it? On the SportsGrid Network, Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. We've got you covered here. A full 15-game slate, one game underway right now. And I thought this would be quite the pitcher's duel, to say the least. And, well, that's pretty much what it is right now. Brewers 2-0 end of the fourth. Chris Sale versus Mizorowski in that one. We got a whole lot of games starting about an hour, hour and a half. One game coming up next hour, Cardinals and the Phillies. And you mentioned it. I'm with you. I think the Phillies are built for a run this time of year. I think over the next month, as we got 30 some odd games left, I think the experience, I think the pitching, the bullpen worries me a little, but it doesn't worry me to the point where I wouldn't back them, because look at the competition they're going up against here. They're 260 favorites tonight against the Cardinals. I see the Phillies making some noise here over the next couple of weeks, Scott. What do you think?
Yeah, they might be. And you know, if there's a team that has the kryptonite for Superman, the LA Dodgers, it is the Phillies, Joe. You know, the Dodgers, as good as they are, right? 26 games over 500. They're only 4 games, and that's only because recently they've won a couple of games against left-handed starters. Otherwise, for the most part, they've been a 500 baseball team, and we're talking about 40 games. That's a pretty good sample size. And they got the 2 big lefties in Luzardo and Sanchez. You know, you start off a series, you know, that's going to be the key. You're never going to like overwhelm the Dodgers, right? You're never going to, you know, outdo them. But can you go toe to toe with them for 5-6 innings and then make it a bullpen game where it turns into a 50-50 proposition? Like, the Phillies have what it takes on paper. Whether they get it done or not, and you said that their bullpen's not exactly great, but at least they got the 2 big lefties that you know could go toe to toe with the Dodgers. So the Phillies would be the one. You know, six straight wins. You know, 5 back of Atlanta. I don't know if they're necessarily going to catch the Braves. And depending how things turn out, you know, maybe the Phillies would face the Dodgers in the first round, believe it or not, if the Braves, you know, overtake the Dodgers for the second best record, and the Dodgers don't get that first round bye.
Yeah, you know, thank goodness the Dodgers, because what was their season win total, Scott? Was it 104? 105 and a half. Okay, if they had been on pace for that, this would be even a worse season, because there'd be even less interest at this point of year. So the fact that they have had to go through some ups and downs and some growing pains, and, you know, they've had that lull a little bit here in the dog days of summer, but we already know from a talent and on paper perspective, they are the team to beat. They're 2-time champions, and I get it here. But there's always that one team we see each and every Major League Baseball season where it flies under the radar until around this time of year. My fear, and I mentioned it before we went to break, I think Tampa peaked too early, Scott. I really do. They're on the road against the Orioles tonight, but it's not like they got a ton of experience. Peralta is supposed to be a guy that's going to come in and give you all these great innings in the postseason. I'm not buying it, man. I think because the Rays, to me, have not gone through that lull, right? That where does the bottom fall? I think it's coming, Scott. And I don't even think they're going to have enough to win the American League East in the next month.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they're going to be the third choice at best, right? They're not going to be the number 1 choice over the Yankees. And they're not probably going to be the number 1 choice over Boston, believe it or not, when everything is said and done. They might be over the White Sox and Astros, if it is those 2 teams in the other divisions, and the wild card teams. You know, the thing with them this year is that the AL, as we talked about it, is so bad. Like, who's going to beat them? You know, even if they don't play the way they're playing now, is Cleveland good enough? Is Houston good enough? Is Seattle going to come back? You know, so if the Devil Dogs, as we like to call them, don't do it this year, then it's really, you know, shame on them, because the AL is so bad this season. I mean, if you're relying, I get it. You're pretty good. You know, I don't mind flyers on teams and players. And it took a flyer on Freddie Peralta, but he's had 3 starts and he's been awful. They've happened to win, believe it or not, 2 out of his 3 starts, but he hasn't pitched well in really any of them. So if he's one of your main guys, it's like, you know, you're in a whole lot of trouble.
You are in a whole lot of trouble here, and I think they're going to be in trouble here tonight, at least early. Trevor Rogers going for the Orioles tonight, and he has been a first 5 cash cow for me this year, Scotty, because he is a guy that limits the runs, limits the contact early in games, gives his team just enough, just enough of a cushion to eventually, lose because the bullpen's been a hot mess over there. If they can figure out if Pete Alonso's balls are ever, fair or foul when he hits a home run, they might have an actual shot here. But if it ain't broke, I'm not fixing it. I don't like what I've seen from Tampa offensively. Look at this last series against Toronto. And I think a quality lefty like Rogers, I'm expecting fewer runs early in this game, not more runs.
Yeah, I'll say this also about Tampa Bay before I mention the game itself, right? So they lose 3 out of 4 to Baltimore. Then they lose 2 out of 3 to Toronto, as you mentioned, all at home, Joe. And then you look at the rest of their schedule. They got the Phillies. They got the Yankees 4-game series. They got the Red Sox. They got the Astros. They got the Atlanta Braves. They got the San Diego Padres playing better. They got actually the Mets, which normally would be great, but the Mets are actually playing really good baseball. Their schedule the rest of the way is really, there's not, except for one series against the A's, everybody else and the Mets, who are hot, are either battling for a playoff spot or playing good baseball right now. So they do have collapse. Not to the point of not making the playoffs, but they do have collapse, kind of written all over them as far as, they're just not playing, well the rest of the way. And maybe having the Yankees or Red Sox, win that division. So, but I'm with you with Baltimore. I would take a flight if I was going to do it. The way that Tampa Bay somehow or another has been able to win these games, I would do maybe Orioles team total, 3.5 or 4.5, depending on where you do your shopping. I think they get the Peralta. He lost to him last time out. He's given up 12 runs in 14 in the third innings with Tampa Bay in his 3 starts. So it's been the kind of same old story. So I would go Orioles team total rather than the Orioles in the game.
Yeah, I like it. I think the O's are early and often in this one there, and then it's a matter of whether the O's bullpen can hold up in that matchup there. All right, we got plenty more baseball coming up. The Yankees at an important series against the Blue Jays at home. The Red Sox taking on the Giants. I'm wondering if Scotty is a Red Sox believer here. Does he really think they can run the table? We'll find out. I don't know that they know, but we'll discuss it as we got much more game time decisions coming your way here on the Grid. All right, welcome back in. Game time decisions on this Friday on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. Hey, in addition to Major League Baseball games, and we got a loaded slate, we got 3 preseason football games coming your way here tonight. We're going to talk about those coming up because, well, it involves the Jets, and that's always funny, especially as a Jets fan because, yep, some of the rumors and innuendo that I am hearing is hilarious, Scott. Can't wait to run this by you. But I want to talk to you about those Red Sox coming up here tonight against the Giants. If anybody would give me a non-biased look here at this Red Sox team, it would be you. Between them and the Dolphins, I can always get an unbiased opinion from you. So, Red Sox have an unbelievable July, put themselves in the postseason conversation. Right now, are you buying the Red Sox to be a legit contender?
You know, I am, but only because the American League sucks, Joe. It's like if they were in the National League, then it would be no. So, but could they beat Houston or the White Sox or even Tampa Bay? Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? Just like all those other fan bases, you'd probably say the same thing, about their respective teams. But do I think they're a championship team? Would they beat anybody in the World Series? No, I don't think so. And if not for the AL being so bad, I got a feeling they wouldn't make it. They're a weird team. They got a better record against first place teams than they do last place teams. I mean,
crazy.
Who does that? They're 13-0 against division leaders, but then they lose series to Colorado or they lose series to the Angels. It makes no sense with this team. They got Sonny Gray on the hill tonight. Logan Webb, big game. Rafi Devers comes back to town for the first time since the trade last year. So, that's kind of the headline today. But ultimately, do I think that they're a World Series winning team? No. They don't have the hitting. They don't have the consistent hitting. The pitching's there. Bullpen is there. It's great, but you can't win games 3-2, 2-1 all the time. You just can't do it. And you just don't have the consistency from the bats like you really need to have from a championship team.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great story, and it just goes to show you what a hot month will get you, Scott, and where it can put you. And that's exactly what they've done. But I think time will tell. Is Crochet coming back? Do we know?
He's kind of like the Red Sox version of Aaron Judge with the Yankees. Nobody knows. It's like a mystery. He's supposed to, they're hoping, they're praying. There was a bonus clause that if he didn't pitch so many innings, that would allow the Red Sox to not have an opt-out. So, he passed that. So this is like a legitimate injury, obviously. So they don't know. Like I said, it's the same exact thing with Aaron Judge. You hear reports and stuff like that, right? Yep. But they're not positive. So it's like, go figure, right?
I don't get it. Either he's going to be ready or he's not. It would be tremendous if he would be ready for them. But you can't count on it, I guess, at this particular point. But to your point, what's the big we know who the competition is. It's the Yankees and it's Tampa. And how much faith do we have? How do they size up? Because anybody and everyone else, whatever ends up coming out of the Central, who cares? Whatever comes out of the West, who cares? It's, to me, that final wild card spot in the American League. Who's it going to be, Scott? Is it Toronto? Is it whoever finishes second in the West? I mean, who is Minnesota? Listen, I'll say this about Minnesota, because if it ended right now, it looks like Minnesota would be in, right? Let me ask you, Minnesota at least spent money and did something at the deadline, Scott, to try and get better, to give themselves the opportunity to make a push. I give teams like that in organizations a lot more credit than those that just happen to sell whatever they could sell. And okay, if we make it, great. If we don't, we were really playing for next year anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're that team though, Joe. I like Toronto out of the whole, mix. And now that they still got Vlad Guerrero, he's in concussion protocol, although he's supposed to be available tomorrow, supposedly. So he's going to miss another game today. So he's missed about a week. But, the Blue Jays are a half game back, 3 games under 500. Obviously they're a step away from winning the World Series last year. So on paper, they would be the best team. I kept on waiting for them to go off on one of those 9-2, 8-1 runs. It
Yep.
hasn't happened. They just keep on winning a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple, right? But there they sit, just a half a game back. So if I was going to pick one, it would be the Blue Jays, to tell you the truth.
Well, I don't know. Listen, just because you made the moves doesn't mean you're going to win anything. But at least an organization like Minnesota was like, hey, let's try and bolster the bullpen. Let's try and make a run at this, while other teams like Baltimore and it's like, yeah, we're just going to play for Detroit. Like, I hope those teams don't even sniff the postseason because they don't deserve it. We got more game time decisions coming up here. Preseason football, 3 games tonight. We'll tell you who's going to win them coming up. All right, welcome back in. Game time decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel here as we are T-minus. I want you to, it's here. Like, we're 8 days away from week 0 of college football. That means we will have at least some sort of legit football happening beginning next weekend for about, I don't know, the next 4 months, it feels like. But we do have some preseason football coming up here tonight. And week 2, Scotty, is all about, to me, there are some position battles, and there are a lot of things with these teams that need to be figured out. Geno Smith playing tonight for the Jets, which is laughable. But who's going to be the backup to the Jets? They're going to have to figure that out here tonight at some point, right? Is it going to be Cade Klubnik? Is he going to be the guy to back everybody up? I'm hearing that the Jets might be interested in J.J. McCarthy. Why? I have absolutely no idea.
Wow.
But the Jets have to figure out what happens if a often injured Geno Smith goes down. Me personally, I hope they lose every game. Do not screw this thing up come next year. Lose every game. I have their win total under. I don't think they win more than 4 games, Scott. I think Geno Smith's going to be an unmitigated disaster, but they're going to have to figure some things out here. Still some position battles to go. But Pittsburgh, your Steelers, what do you think about those Steelers here tonight with Will Howard? Same situation. Who's backing up? Is it Drew Aller? Is it Will Howard? Who's backing up a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers?
Whoever it is, he's going to get some playing time this year. I'll tell you that. Mason
Yes, he
Rudolph as
is.
well, right? So, if you believe in line movements, and I don't know if I necessarily do in the preseason or any time for that matter in the NFL, but Pittsburgh went from a 1.5-point home dog to now a 1.5-point home favorite. I like the Steelers. I like the bet getting 1.5 versus laying 1.5, but either way, I figured Pittsburgh was going to win. Listen, the Jets couldn't beat Tampa Bay last week when the Jets were using all their starters, like they are
Yep.
now. And Tampa Bay was not using any. In fact, not only weren't they using their starters, they used only their third and fourth string quarterbacks, kind of like Pittsburgh tonight. And you had a Tampa Bay head coach, Todd Bowles, who doesn't care about the preseason. His preseason record is atrocious. And the Jets still couldn't win. And the Jets were even at home. So I can't help but think, I know this is goofy, but, the Aaron Rodgers reunion tour continues. Remember, Pittsburgh played Green Bay last week. They're playing the Jets this week. And I don't think he's got the angst for Green Bay, as he certainly does for the Jets. He hated his time with the Jets. He stated that. This was 2 years of hell for him, right? So I know he's not playing, but I can't help but think, Joe, he's going to be on the sidelines rooting on Howard and Aller and just keeping that team in it and really, want to win. I do believe that. Jets are just awful. I'm hoping my Dolphins lose every single game as well. So we're two peas in a pod here rooting against our NFL teams. But I like Pittsburgh.
The only way to do it.
Yeah.
The only way to do it, Scott. When you've been as disappointed as we have, terrible. You don't wish any success.
What's the point of winning like 6 or 7 games, right? And getting the 10th or 11th? What does that prove? Nothing, right? I mean, last thing you want is Geno Smith to win 8 games and then bring him back and give him another contract. And same thing for me. Last thing I want is Malik Willis to do well. I don't know. He's not a quarterback into the future for that Dolphin team. Buy him out.
Nope.
And get a top 3 pick.
Now, it's going to be interesting because, listen, I saw Cade Klubnik play last week. He actually looked halfway decent, but he only took 15 snaps, and I was a little bit shocked that was all he took. But, listen, Geno's rolling out for the 1 or 2 series, and that's it. And then Cade Klubnik is, or Bailey Zappi. He's the other guy I'm going to be very interested to see. But I do think the Pittsburgh, because we know Aaron's not going to be there. Drew Aller, and I wasn't expecting great things, but I got to tell you, he looked pretty decent to me there. What was he, 10 or 13, $150, 3 and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But now they're giving Will Howard a shot here. And listen, say what you want about McCarthy. If it's one thing the guy knows, it's quarterbacks. For whatever reason, the guy can make a quarterback look very, very good. He made Aller look great last week. I think Will Howard has a pretty good opportunity in this game to do the same. And at the very least, what do you care? One of those guys, if they show up and show out, all of a sudden becomes trade bait. A team is going to call to get him on there. Same thing with Zappi or Cade Klubnik. So these games, they may not have the star power, but when you got guys battling to try for contracts and to make teams, these games become somewhat interesting and at least entertaining enough to watch.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's certainly enough riding on it. Like you said, with all these positions and stuff, and fans are showing up. So I think they're going to get an honest effort. Nationally televised game. There's only 3 games tonight, so it's not quite a standalone game, but you're only one of 3 games on the schedule. So yeah, and listen, you want to give me Pittsburgh, basically pick them at home against anybody, even in the preseason. I'll take my chances, right? Versus, it's one of those dopey plays where if you bet the Jets and they lose 30-7, you're like, what am I, stupid? I bet the Jets, but I'll live with myself if I bet Pittsburgh and they just don't play well. Just, what? I'll take my chance on that.
I agree. I think the other game too tonight here is also going to be very interesting, and that's going to be Carolina, who, from what we understand, I believe we are going to see the starters out there for a little while. I think Trevor Lawrence, maybe for a series, but Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett, who are your starter and backup, are going to play pretty much the first half. Then they're going to give way to Kyle Trask because Haynes King got hurt in that ridiculous Hall of Fame game. So good old Kyle Trask will be in the second half. And to me, I think these are great first half, second half situations. Give me the starting quarterback and the backup quarterback in the first half with Carolina over anybody against Kyle Trask in the second half.
Yeah.
So I think these are great. Give me Carolina first half. Give me Jacksonville in the second half here, because these are two teams, too. I think I'm higher on Carolina than I think some people are. I really do think Canales finally made it through to Bryce Young here, but I'm not sold at all on Jacksonville here. Yes, great call. Everyone, Liam got called. You got to win a game that matters before I can actually make that leap here, Scott. And Jacksonville hasn't done that in a very, very long time.
Yeah. And don't forget, this is Carolina's third preseason game, right? They played the Hall of Fame game.
Correct.
So they're one.
Yep.
This is kind of like they're get ready for the regular season game and watch them play absolutely nobody next week. So you're going to get an honest, real effort out of them. And then they got a head coach, over on Jacksonville that I've said I heard him talk many times about how he really doesn't care about the regular season. He's protecting the players, and he wants to be a player's coach and all this other stuff. So you got one team that might take things a little more seriously than the other, and that's why they're the road favorites. So I do like Carolina, to win this football game. But you're right. First half, if you want to do first half, this would be one of those ideal first halves, because a lot of these things you don't know what's going to happen second half anyway. So
it's quarterbacks. Who's the backup? Who's playing the second half? And who do you trust? It was the same thing last night. It was I wanted Houston in the first half because we knew we were going to get Davis Mills and we were going to get to. That's great. But in the second half, I knew it was Aiden O'Connell up against the third and fourth stringers of that Houston defense. And that felt like, yep, I think we can get something done here. And that's how I think some of these games are going to roll. Denver and Green Bay is another fantastic one here tonight, because I do believe Jordan Love will play at least the first quarter, they're saying. Then Tyrod Taylor is coming in. And then the whole second half is going to be Kyle McCord. And Bo Nix, we think, is going to play a snap or two, right? A series or two. But then you're going to Jarrett Stidham and Ellinger in the second half. It's in altitude. It's in Denver. Are we really fading Denver? I don't care if it's the third stringers on defense against Kyle Trask. What are we, the backup quarterback there for Green Bay, Kyle McCord? No, I'm not. I'll take Denver all day. No?
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but boy, 6.5 points, a lot of points delay.
We got to hope they pass out. They got dehydration. We got more game time decisions coming up here on the grid. All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. As we are getting ready for some preseason football here tonight. 3 games, including the late one, Denver and Green Bay in Denver tonight. That's going to be, I think, 9:30 tonight. And then, of course, we'll have more tomorrow as we get to wrap up week 2 of the NFL preseason. Plenty of Major League Baseball also on tap here tonight. Still 2-0, bottom of the 6th. Milwaukee on top of Atlanta right now. And before we start diving into a few more of these games here, Scotty, the Cavs are really in the NBA trying to make sure that they never advance in the postseason, apparently, as they ended up giving another. How much money did they give James Harden to not perform? 97. The guy has made $500 million, more than $500 million in his NBA playing days. He's 37 years old. How many rings does he have for $500 million? How much did anybody get their money out of it? No, nothing.
None.
No,
0.
That's unfortunate. 0. And
yeah. So he's got, I don't know, I didn't see any articles that said what his player option is. He's got a 4th-year player option, which there's no way in the world at 41 years old or 40 years old, he's not going to pick up the player option. So if it's the same amount, another 33 million or so, 30 million, right? It's a 4-year, 120 or so $million contract for a 37-year-old player who's never won a big game in his life. Well, what are you doing? I mean, and of all the free agents that were out there that they wanted to re-sign this guy, and he was bad in the postseason. I mean, wow.
He's always been bad in the postseason. Like, this is nothing new for he's not going to flip a switch and all of a sudden the Cavs. I mean, you got the Sixers, you got the Knicks come back, you've got Giannis in Miami now, and by the way, looks like Klay Thompson's on his way to the Miami Heat. So he's somebody which they needed shooting, and that makes all the sense in the world. But what do you do? That's what you chose to go with? Like, really? You got all that money tied up in him and and his cohort there that never ever get it done in the postseason. That's just unreal to me.
I've had this discussion, argument, or whatever you want to call it, for my life. These teams, Joe, their goal is not to win an NBA championship, right? Their goal,
so true.
The GM, the owner, the president, their goal is to put fannies in the stands, sell hope. We want to be competitive. We want to be good so the fans buy all our season tickets. And if we win a championship, don't get me wrong, great, but our goal is to be competitive and really good. And then whatever else happens after that. And when we sign a James Harden, and we give the money to Donovan Mitchell, even though these guys have never won big games in their lives, but they're good. They're going to get us into the playoffs. We're going to talk about winning, and people are going to be all excited, and that's what we want. Is it really going to get us a championship? Probably not. But you know what? We'll all get to keep our jobs for the next 3-4 years because we're going to be good. And we'll blame the coach. If we don't win a championship, we gave you the guys. It's the coach that'll go.
Exactly.
Kenny Atkinson is the one that's going to be out the door. He's got to be like, what are you doing? We had all these free agents out there. We had Giannis out there, and you're giving me a guy who's never won a game in his life? Really? And I'm going to be the one fired? But that's what they want. They don't go the extra mile. We've been saying this about Green Bay and their wide receiver room, right? I mean, they don't go. They want to be good. They want to be competitive. Keep the fan base coming into the stadium. And that's what a move like this does.
It's shocking. It really is. I mean, and the kind of money that they throw around, it's just for guys that are, congratulations. He'll give you the points. He'll give you, but he'll be nowhere around when you need him. He is not Jalen Brunson. He is not some of these other guys that you can count on to show when he's not Tatum. I just don't get it. But just goes to show you how much money and priorities in the NBA. I guess he still puts guys. Are you still buying a ticket, Scotty, to go see James Harden?
No. Yeah, you know what's weird, Joe, is right. So he's 37. And it's not a one-year contract like we're talking. This is a 3-year, $30+ million year contract. Today, DeMar DeRozan who's got similar, if not better numbers, right? Free
Yep.
agent. And I just didn't understand why he was still out there. He signs a 1-year deal for less than $4 million with the Denver Nuggets, which I think is a great
Crazy.
signing, right? That's
Right.
what James Harden should be, right? 1, maybe 2 years, but you're 37 years old. DeRozan's right around that age, and yet they give him basically a 4-year contract. It just nuts.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy here. But the whole shape of the Eastern Conference is going to be very interesting next year. And we're going to see how it all plays out. Jaylen Brown to Philadelphia. Harden stays in Cleveland, but some of the surrounding pieces aren't there. This whole thing is going to get very interesting very quickly. But the good news is we don't have to deal with this for another 2 months here before the NBA. And we all know the season doesn't start till Christmas anyway, Scotty. Who are we kidding? But week 0 of the college football season is 8 days away. So we've got a lot to discuss when it comes to college football. And Cignetti, once again, every interview I see him, every time he's in front of a microphone, Scotty, he's got to be one of the most entertaining dudes. I think it is fantastic for this version of college football. With judges now allowing guys to go play in the NFL preseason, and then if that doesn't work out, go back to college for a 5th year. You're going to be fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. I just think somebody like Cignetti just will take all the focus off of that ridiculousness, and he is Saban, like Saban 2.0 in a time where we need a Saban 2.0 in this sport right now.
Yeah, he's like Saban success-wise and everything else, but he's got a personality, Joe, right? That's the one that Nicky Quick doesn't. He was kind of stale as stale can be and mean and grumpy and everything else. Whereas this guy's like he'll throw anything out there, and who could say no to him? I mean, it's just he's crazy,
love
right?
it.
Yeah.
Oh my! He just tells you like it is. He does it. He's got that smirk. He knows he's good. Google me. Like he is exactly what college football needs. Because I got news for you. Think about it right now. Is Clemson even ranked in the top 25? Is Dabo Swinney even ranked? When's the last time Clemson hasn't been ranked in the top 25? They're not even there, Scott. Alabama's not even a top 10 team. Welcome to the new era of college football. Game Time Decisions continues here on the... right, welcome back in here as we look to close out this first hour of Game Time decisions on the SportsGrid network. We got one Major League Baseball game still underway. We're in the top of the seventh. Brewers are up 2-0 over the Braves there. Great pitchers battle as Mizorowski taking on Chris Sale in that one. We got plenty more coming your way here. Major League Baseball starting in about 45 minutes or so. Cardinals and Phillies will be the next one up. But in the meantime, Scotty and I were just talking. We're looking at college football 8 days away. Week 0 next Saturday kicks it all off. And I'm looking at this AP top 25, and one of the first, besides Alabama not being top 10, which just goes to tell you, Scotty, what a different era we're in. Clemson's not even ranked in the AP top. And you and I were going, when is the last time we have not seen Dabo Swinney and Clemson ranked in the top 25?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, obviously. So you probably got to go back to his first or second year, which is 2007. He went 9-4 that year. He took over a team that was 8-5, so they were probably ranked. I would think in the top 25. And that's basically, they went 7-6 the next year, but they would have been ranked, because of what they did the year before. Maybe then in 2009, off a 7-6 year, they might not have been ranked, but otherwise, this has got to be the first time in Dabo's career at Clemson. I mean, you show how far they've dropped, huh? Wow, that's amazing.
Listen, evolve or die, right? And unfortunately for Dabo, we're Clemson. We don't need to, participate in this portal thing. Well, guess what? How'd that work out for you? Not well at all. So, and that's a problem. Now, Cade Klubnik, of course, is gone, so they're going to have a new quarterback this year. But as you can tell with the AP, listen, the AP forever was just pencil the same names in. Scott and Clemson was one of them. They're not that way anymore. I mean, that's just absolutely bonkers. But I do like Miami. At least in the ACC here, Scotty, coming in at what, number 7, 6 or 7 there. I mean, Indiana is ranked as if they didn't just win the championship here, but nobody's paying any attention to them. But call me crazy. Who else out of the ACC outside of Miami? Who's beating Miami this year?
Yeah. The problem with that, you have to ask yourself, are these the predictions of how things are going to end up? Are people saying Ohio State's going to win the national championship, or are you saying?
They say it every year.
Yeah, but I say it because Ohio State's schedule is brutal. Indiana's schedule is mediocre at best. At best, Miami's schedule is pretty darn good. So are you telling me Miami is not going to challenge for the national championship, or Ohio State, and so on? So I can see Ohio State not making the playoffs if you look at their schedule. That's how
the
bad
schedule is brutal
or tough it is. Oh, brutal. So I'm like, who's picking them? They're not. And like, there's 3 things, right? You predict, I suppose, on how good you think they are. Are they going to win a championship? And then in the middle of how are they going to finish up at the end of the regular season? I'm telling you right now, Ohio State's not going to be number 1. And if they are, then you might as well not even have a college football championship, because if they run the gamut with their schedule and win all those games and finish number 1, then no one's beating them. I mean, it's just one gauntlet after another. They play at Texas, non-conference game, right? You can certainly lose that. They got at Iowa, never easy, at Indiana, at USC, at Nebraska, and then they still have Oregon and Illinois, who's made great strides, and Michigan, oh, by the way, at home. They're not going. If they go 12-0 with that schedule, then God bless them. I agree. So
listen, and don't keep an eye. Listen, it's not going to be tremendous for Michigan. Then it's not going to be one of the, but this is going to be one of the best coached Michigan teams that they've had in a very long time. Kyle Whittingham is one of the best that ever. I mean, this guy made Utah a powerhouse football team here when nobody. What do you mean you go to Utah? What do you got to be? And he's still got a returning quarterback in Bryce Underwood. Call me crazy. I mean, Michigan is going to be much better than people consider. Oregon is going to beat her again. I'm with you, Scott. The idea that you're just going to pencil them in and say, run them right. No, not going to happen. The reason I like Miami is because you actually have to make the playoff to win it. And their path through the ACC might be the easiest that we've seen here. And that's, to me, is what it's all about. I got news for you, though. I have the first coach fired. I have a little, I have a bet I made there, Scott. Yep, first coach fired. I knew you'd love this. Yep, we'll talk about that coming up. We got another hour to go here as Game Time Decisions getting you ready for more here on the Grid. All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel as we are getting you ready here with a loaded slate tonight. Major League Baseball, a lot of action getting ready, just about 40 minutes or so. We'll kick it off with the Cardinals and the Phillies will be your first game up this hour. And then, of course, after 7 o'clock Eastern time, floodgates will open up. We'll get you everything that you need to know there. Still 2-0 Brewers on top of the Braves in the bottom of the 7th. But get ready. 8 days away from week 0 of the college football season. Around the corner here, Scott. Football is back, and college football especially, because we don't know how many guys that are actually going to be playing in these NFL preseason games tonight might actually be on LSU or Ole Miss in 2 weeks here. But it's always fun to talk about and look at some of these teams, these programs coming back. And a lot of the markets that I looked at this year were, they keep talking about expanding the college football playoff. Let's get 16, 24, let's get 100. Okay. Well, we know kind of the automatic bit, like when you're conference and you're in. And you and I were just talking, I can't see, the ACC is terrible on so many levels, except for the University of Miami. Now, Dabo is not ranked for the first time, and you and I can't even remember who was president last time Clemson wasn't a preseason top 25 team. But they're not 25 for a reason, Scotty. They're not very good. I don't see how Miami doesn't, at the very least, make it to the college football playoff this year. It would be an epic failure across a whole lot of different levels if they don't.
Yeah, and that's the key, really. Because as we've talked about, they don't play anybody in the ACC, right? The three other teams, obviously not playing yourself. So the three other, to me anyway, best teams in the ACC: Virginia, they don't play; North Carolina State, they don't play; and SMU, they don't play. So the only way, Joe, that they could not, in my eye, win that conference is if they lose in a head-to-head tiebreaker like last year. Maybe
Yep.
they lose to Notre Dame, and that would drop them lower in the rankings in the in the computer world, so that SMU or Virginia or NC State would get them. So that's why if you want to bet them, I think they make the playoffs though, win, lose or draw. You might have to lay
Yes.
a little more. Right now they're minus. You said you got them at 2-1. Boy, they're minus 145 to win the ACC championship, right? So you may
Yep.
have to pay maybe minus 160 or so for them to make the playoffs. That might be worth it just because of that slim little, you don't want to lose in a head-to-head tiebreaker because a bunch of other teams are going to run the table as well. But yeah, they look like the best team, right? I mean, with that schedule, how are they not?
Yep.
How are they not making the playoffs? They only have 5 road games, right? So 7 home
Yep.
games. The only little gauntlet, if you want to call it that, would be Notre Dame November 7th on the road, and then Duke with Menza, facing Duke again. So is he going to overlook the Notre Dame game? But other than that, there's really they're not losing to Stanford. Even the Stanford
Oh, I
game, as we
love it.
joked about, it's on the West Coast, right? You never know what can happen. That's the first game of the season. They could go out there a week and a half in advance if they want to. So that's the perfect
Yep.
time. So
Good call.
Florida A&M, Wake Forest, Western or Central Michigan, a bad Clemson team, or who knows what type of a Clemson team you're going to get. Yeah, it's a pretty easy schedule. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a terrible schedule, and that's half the battle when you're talking about making the college football playoff.
Right.
Not to mention that, again, Darian Menza, best quarterback in the ACC, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, transferring to Duke. But they also have Mark Fletcher, their 1,200-yard rushing running back, coming back. Malachi Tony, the best receiver in the country, is coming back. I don't care what they recruit on defense here. That offense alone is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch here.
I will say this. I will. It's funny we brought up Miami, right? Because on Twitter, someone sent out just a reminder a couple of years ago. And then obviously not a couple of years ago this day, but a couple of years ago, Miami against Georgia Tech and the meltdown from Mario Cristobal when he handed the ball off.
Yes.
They showed the highlights of all the players. Oh my goodness, this poor guy will never live that down. He will never, ever just take a knee, dude.
Wow.
And he doesn't fumble the ball. We know the rest is history.
I will say this, though. I mean, he did redeem himself a lot last year by making it to the national championship game. So you live and learn. His approach to his coordinators and everything, he had a lot less hands-on last year. Let the coordinators do a lot of it, which is obviously a step in the right direction. But I told you here, Scotty, I've got a ticket on the first coach fired in college football this year. And it was one of 2 guys for me. Go ahead.
Let me guess then. One of 2 guys. I got to go with what's his face at Florida State. He's on borrowed time. Mark Norvell. Yeah.
Yes.
Is that it? That's it. Wow.
Yep, he is one of them. Absolutely. Norvell is one of them. The other one is Lincoln Riley at USC.
Ooh.
Because you are talking now, this is his 5th year at USC. How many college football playoffs has USC made?
Yeah. Done.
Yeah. You weren't brought in and you were not hired and getting paid to sit out the college football playoff there, Scotty. So I can't imagine. He has got to be on borrowed time here. If you are another mediocre USC team, how does he? You don't think USC is going to pull the trigger on him? He's won nothing for this organization. Nothing. Like, not even close. And they're in now. What, you're going to beat Indiana? You're going to beat. They host Ohio State, Oregon, Washington. They play at Indiana, at Penn State, and at Wisconsin. And you know how great they are when they travel east.
Yeah, not good.
To me, it could be borrowed time. If Lincoln Riley doesn't figure it out with Jade Maeva, I think it's over, Scotty. I think that experiment is over.
And it's going to make it even worse for him. I know it's going to sound a little goofy here, Joe, but their non-conference schedule is so easy that they're going to be beating the snot out of San Jose State, Fresno State, Louisiana. Then they got Rutgers, right? So they're going to be 4-0, winning these games by 30 points, and then their season starts. Then they got Oregon. Then they got Washington, Penn State, Ohio State, all the others that you mentioned. And so the expectations, as high as they are anyway, are really going to be high. And then when they come flat and finish, 6-6 or 7-5, if they're lucky, it might be. I wouldn't be surprised, especially in college sports nowadays.
Oh, I mean, 5 years now. If he doesn't make the college football playoff, I think it's over.
He's 19 and 19. Like, he's not even 9-4, 8-5, or whatever, coming up a little short. He's 19 and 19 at USC. Offense is second to none. And that's the sad thing too. He's had Caleb Williams. He's had talented offenses, and he still can't win. What happens when he doesn't get the talented offense? Yeah, amazing.
Thank you. I was going back now. Norvell, to me, first of all, I got an under ticket for 6.5 wins. They're not winning 7 games here. Florida State is an absolute mess here. And think about this. That was a 2021-22 team. He had, I think, 10 wins in 22, 13 in 2023. But ever since that Jordan Travis injury, and he has got, how many games has he won? It's terrible. 2-10 in 2024. Even worse last year. And the recruiting is not there. Miami has overtaken him. Florida's got a new coach. And Florida's going to be much better this year, by the way, as well. But they could not fire him because they owed him so much money last year. He's got 1 year left on this absurd contract where they would rather write the check and say, see you later, Mike Norvell, than have to go through another, what do you mean you're 1-6 to start the year? And that could very well happen. We'll look at that schedule when we come back. And let's honestly figure out how many wins Florida State has on that schedule as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS, but then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel as, football is almost here. College football especially, just a week away before week 0 kicks in. We're talking about some of the teams that we like and don't like heading into this season. And Scotty, I think you and I are both on the same page that I could see in-season Mike Norvell being fired by the time we get to Thanksgiving. And when you look at Florida State, this record, you tell me where the wins are, my man, because I'm having a hard time getting more than 4.
Yeah, really. That's I said 6-6 in a break, but actually I was looking at Florida. Yeah, I got it maybe 5-7. Let's give New Mexico State the open up the year, the win against Central Arkansas at home. So that's 2. Boston College is just a train wreck, even though that's on the road. That's probably 3. And then that's really kind of it as far as okay, those are going to be the real wins. Everything else is I don't think they're beating a ranked SMU team. They're not beating Alabama. Virginia is one of the best teams in the ACC, so I don't think they're beating them. They're not winning at Louisville, not beating Miami. They have Clemson at home, so who knows? I penciled that in as maybe another win. That's 4. Gave you Boston College already. Pittsburgh always has a halfway decent team, and that's on the road, so I don't think they're winning there. I like this NC State team a lot. I don't think they're winning that one, and then they finish up with Florida. I mean, those are only really 4, and even if you're wrong on 1, hell, you could be wrong on 2 of those. They're still not getting to 7, Joe. 7-5 with that schedule and that team? No way. You want to know when he's going to be fired? If you look at the schedule, after the game against Miami. That's week number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's week 7, and they got a bye. And they got a bye the following week. That would be okay, you're 2-5. It's not happening. We're done.
Yep.
And then we'll just start the last 5 games of the regular season with our offensive coordinator or somebody. That's kind of where it would probably be, to tell you the truth.
I would, if you lose some of those games early, I'm telling you, it's going to get ugly. Now, I will say this. They did lose, I believe, 4 one-score games last season. Right. But there is, for the first time I can remember in a very long time, question about the talent. What is actually he's bringing in. To me, from what I understand, I'm hearing the word is out. There's a lot of dysfunction going on at Florida State right now. Not as talented a group as they've had. Bringing in Ashton Daniels, who transferred from Stanford and Auburn. What they have? Tommy Castellanos last year. They couldn't make it work. So I think they could be in for a very rough start to the season, which means... You know it, and I know it. Bye-bye, Mike Norvell. The problem is, Scotty, they still owe him $60 million.
Wow. Really?
His contract was he cashed in from the Jordan Travis day when he went there, and that was it. But boy, they wish they could get that back, don't they? Brewers, by the way, 2-1 right now. Bottom of the 8th Brewers there. So the Braves cut it in half here, but it still looks like, I think this closed at 6, Scott. Is that what that game closed
6.
at?
Yeah, 6. When's the last time we saw 6, huh? Unbelievable. So Sale goes 6th inning, Wizarowski both 6th inning. That's what I was talking about, earlier with the, if you were going to bet the over in a game, you don't bet the over 6. You let these guys, pitch their 5-6 innings. Then you bet the over. Get them out of the game, and then you get a much, much, much better number. So, you can bet 3.5 if you want. If you think you're going to get one more run, bottom of the 8th inning, you get 2 basic at-bats left. So Mizrowski ended up with 6 strikeouts, and Sale ended up with 6 strikeouts too. So both of them identical, almost identical.
Heck of a pitcher's battle. I mean, of a pitcher's battle. I always say, Scotty, too, when you get, especially at this point in the year, if a total is at 6, the lowest total on the board is that low for a reason. Don't look for a reason to try to fade it. It's that low for a reason. And when you have Chris Sale and Mizrowski on the mound, I would much rather be on the under instead of trying to sweat out what are we going to get in the over pre-flop. let the game roll a little bit, because if it does start to look to go over, you're going to have a whole lot of opportunities to be able to jump in on games like that. But a couple of outs away here from the Braves having their final 3 outs. We'll see if they can get it done in that one. Couple of other big games coming up.
By the way, real quickly, just I think you and I talked about this last time we did the show. This is game 1 of this series, right? So what, Scott?
Correct.
The Brewers now, if they win this, right, it's 2-1, bottom 8. They are 50-17 in game 1 of series over the last 2 seasons. So
Crazy.
This would be 51-17. I mean, I know they're good. It's not like they're bad, in games 2 and 3 and 4 of series, but 50-17 is just why? I don't know. Sometimes you just come up with things like, I don't know why they would be so good, but that's a tremendous record, 51-17 if they win today.
Huge record. That would be absolutely. And I'm going to be very interested to see here, too, because the Cubs to me, are a very interesting team, and we'll talk about what they've got coming up here this weekend. I think I've always thought that Milwaukee finishes with the best record in Major League Baseball. Some people thought Atlanta was going to be available there. I mean, there's not a ton separating them, right? But to be honest, I don't think the Dodgers care if they have home field. I don't think Atlanta cares, although Atlanta's been great at Truist. I think Milwaukee does care. And I think Milwaukee, if push comes to shove, Milwaukee is going to want to make sure that, hey, if you're going to come to beat it, you're going to it's got to come through Milwaukee, because they've been fantastic in that spot here. I don't think the Dodgers care very much. Do you?
No. Yeah, they've done it too. They've won on the road, at home, on the moon.
I don't think they care.
Yeah. Would they like it? Sure, I suppose. But are they going to go all out at the end of the season to catch Milwaukee if it comes down to the last week or two? No, I don't think so.
No.
So
I agree.
But the Brewers 20 games over 500 at home, though. Pretty good.
Yeah, did you? That's a team that they know if they have a lead heading into the 6th inning, they got lefty-righty matchups in that bullpen all day long. They are going to be a tough out any which way you cut it here, but they got to close out the Braves here today in that first game of the series. We'll have more on it as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS. But then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back in. Here we go. Game time decisions on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. And Scotty, we got plenty of Major League Baseball action coming up here. In just about 20 minutes, we got the Cardinals, we got the Phillies, we got Luzardo, we've got minus 260. It's at Citizens Bank Park. And believe it or not, the Cardinals, you know, they've been winning some games here. This was another one that what would have happened if you kept Dusty May? But, you know, the Cardinals are a team in transition, but it's a very well-run organization. It has been for how many years, Scotty? I guess we shouldn't be shocked they're not rolling over and throwing the towel in, but this is the kind of series right off the bat the Phillies need to put their foot down and win rather easily, no?
Yeah. Listen, the Cardinals, we grabbed them at right around 9-1 odds. I have to double check my ticket there. We took some flyers about 2 weeks ago, Joe, on teams. Toronto was one, St. Louis was one that we thought it had, you know what, we're getting really good odds on them to make the playoffs. And they were one of them. And now the Cardinals have won 5 straight series. They're 12-6 their last 18 games. They were in a funk, but now they're playing halfway decent baseball. But the Phillies have won 6 straight, so it's a great series this weekend. And the 15 minutes of fame may be up for Jordan Baez or Joshua Baez, if you remember him, as I know you do. First 3 times up, home run, home run, home run. Right, Saturday afternoon was the last Saturday. In fact, the first pitch he saw was a home run. So the dude hits 3 homers in his first 3 at bats. From that point on, Joe, he's 1 of 22, hitting, barely his weight there. So he went from, being the king of the world to, I don't know, maybe being sent back down to the minors. But, St. Louis has done well in this series, 7-3 their last 10 against Philadelphia. But I do like the Phillies. I think they win. Luzardo's on the hill. He's obviously really, really good. So I like Philadelphia in the game tonight.
I think maybe even a team total might not be a bad look here for the Phillies. The Yankees taking on the Blue Jays, all of a sudden, important series here for certainly the Blue Jays, but the Yankees with Schlittler on the mound. Again, no excuse here, Yankees, but another $2 favorite. 7 is that total. Scotty, are we getting runs in this one?
Well, the Yankees have been a dead under team, right? Just a dead under team. But, it's hard to go under 7 when the opposing team, in this case, Toronto, is going to have a bullpen game. So you're going to get 4, 5, maybe 6, Toronto Blue Jay bullpen guys. So I would probably stay away from that. Yanks have won 4 in a row. They're playing a little better baseball. Only 4 back at Tampa Bay. They're making a little move. So second most home runs in baseball do the Yanks. Meanwhile, Toronto has the second fewest home runs. And no Vlad Guerrero tonight. He's still out with his concussion. So Yankees to me would be the play. You'd have to go run and a half. It's tough because they just don't score. They can be going against the bullpen guys and still not score 5 or 6 runs. So this is kind of a stay away game for me. But otherwise, I'd take the Yankees laying a run and a half.
Yeah, I hate laying a home team run and a half here, given the fact that they're likely only going to get 8 at bats as opposed to 9. But I'm with you here, Sky. There's, to me, no excuse here for the Yankees to be able to start this series right off the bat and handle business. I also think, talk about dead under team, the Giants, Logan Webb taking on Sonny Gray tonight. Sonny Gray should be in the conversation along with Schlittler for Cy Young. He has been phenomenal this year for the Red Sox, sitting at 15-3, a 2.65 ERA. And Logan Webb has given up, I think, 1 run in the month of August. He has been absolutely lights out for the Giants. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's not going to give up a lot of home runs. 7.5, and I still don't know where the runs are coming from. This looks like a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel here for a while.
Yeah, and Gray's pitched well. He when you're 15-3, obviously, right?
Unreal.
But he's had big start, Joe, after big start, whether the Sox were on a 3 or 4 game losing streak and they need that guy to step up. He's been that way the whole season. If he doesn't win with that many more wins than Schlittler has right now. If he doesn't win the Cy Young and it continues this way, then something's wrong. But you're right about the under. This has got dead under written all over it, right? I mean, you said it, 2-1, 3-1, ground ball pitcher at Fenway Park, perfect situation. Gray on the other side pitching well. Sox can't hit anyway, So, yeah, under 7.5 would be the play.
Yeah, I like that here a lot, I think, in this one. Should be a fun one here to watch unfold. Plenty more Major League Baseball games coming up. Some really good ones for teams that have to figure it out. Are you going to make the push? Are you not going to make the push? Yeah, I think the Tigers might have their hands full a little bit later tonight here. We got plenty more to get to as Game Time Decisions continues on this Friday on the Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS, but then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is Game Time Decisions here on a Friday evening, getting set for a little NFL preseason football, full slate of baseball to go over, including our beloved Red Sox with Rafi Devers coming back to Fenway Park for the first time. And is he going to get booed, Joe? That's the question. I don't know. I talked about this earlier this week, right? I mean, if the Red Sox weren't doing so well and they were doing poorly like the Giants, I think there'd be a lot more, built up angst against him. But the bottom line is the Red Sox are in a playoff spot. The San Francisco isn't. And, because of that, I think that's going to kind of cool down the any tension they might have for Rafi. He did, talk his way out of town last year. No two ways about that. But I don't know, Joe. What do you think? If I'm the Red Sox fan, but I don't think they're going to boo Rafi tonight. I think they give him, I don't know about a standing ovation, but I think there'll be more cheers than boos for Rafi Devers tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if the Red Sox were, 20 games under 500, they might have a problem. They might think. But if he strikes out 3 times tonight, they will cheer him forever.
Yeah.
Yes, they will love that. No problem there. But sure, listen, it's a tough matchup on both sides here with these two lineups. So I think we're spot on with the under. I think both bullpens should be able to handle business, but I don't know. And I was talking to Craig Mish all week. He was looking very forward to the Marlins at home, taking on the Nationals. That's where he is, of course, covering the Marlins this weekend. Listen, the Nats, they lost Abrams now. At least he didn't start last night. I don't know if he's in the lineup here tonight. We already know Woods is on the IL. They struck out 10 times against DeGrom, who, couldn't get out of the third inning for the last month of any start. And Gusto doesn't exactly strike me as oh boy, they're going to have the Nationals number here. But I do like the Miami offense here in this spot tonight against Lord and a whole lot of other bullpen arms of the Nats. Feels like the Marlins have a really good opportunity at home to be able to get one done here.
Yeah, and listen, they have to. Right now, we say that a lot of times, and it doesn't necessarily mean it happens. But you're the Marlins, and you're fighting for a wild card spot, and you got the Nationals coming in, and they've just kind of almost waved the white flag on the season. You can't be losing these games. You have to take at least 2 out of 3, if not really sweep. Right? We've seen this team be so streaky, the Miami Marlins. You got to find ways to win these games when your aces aren't on the hill. So. You only laying $146 as well. That's not a bad price for the home team. Yeah, I go with Miami as well.
I agree here. I think Tampa, I'm not sure this is the game that they try to turn it around or get it turned around in. Scotty taking on Baltimore in Baltimore. It's been a rough last couple of series there in Tampa, which has been they've been dominant at home all year at the Trop, but Baltimore coming off a rough series themselves, but I think they got the right guy in the mound with Trevor Rogers here going up against Freddie Peralta, who, listen, in his defense, he had to pitch in where? Sacramento, I think, in Colorado, 2 games, wearing a Tampa Bay uniform. I mean, not pitchers' ballparks, but I don't like offensively what I've seen from them here, and Baltimore looks... And they certainly haven't quit on the season, even though ownership has, it feels like. But I like the pitching edge Baltimore has in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the team total. That over-under dropped to 7.5. Listen, we talked about Freddie, right? He was awful with the Mets. He's given up basically an inning, run an inning. Although I will say, against the same Orioles team, while he allowed 2 runs, in 4 2/3 innings, which obviously is not good. He only gave up 1 hit, but he walked 3 guys. So it's not like, to me, that's just an anomaly. I'm going to go with the guy who gave up 3 runs against the A's, albeit on the road, 7 runs against the Rockies, albeit, as you mentioned, on the road. That's the Freddie Peralta we've seen here in New York, game in and game out. You got an Orioles team total of 3.5, minus 138 on FanDuel. No, I don't know how they don't get 4 runs at home, and they've been hitting the ball pretty well in Baltimore. As long as they keep it inside or like way inside of the foul pole. I think they get to 4 runs tonight. I like the best play in this sport to me is over 3.5 runs, Baltimore.
You know what? I kind of more do you keep saying that you brought it up, the more I actually do kind of like that play. I think that's where I'm going to look here. By the way, they did just finish, I believe, Mizorowski. Beats Atlanta and Chris Sale 2-1 is your final. That was your early afternoon game there. Not a crazy shock given that Scotty told you what the record of Milwaukee is at home this season. It has been nothing short of just dominant, Scott, is what it feels like there. But it's only game 1. It's going to be a long series coming up this weekend. And I don't like where Atlanta is trending here. And I think that's what worries me a little bit with the Braves. Now, having said that, we got a couple of other teams also coming up that I think are interesting. What do you make of the White Sox? Because I can't trust the Guardians. The White Sox are having a great turnaround season, but Burke has been good. Do we like him against Manaea and the Mets here?
Yeah, I don't. They already have more wins this year than they had all of last year, right? They accomplished that in the 116th game. But they got 1 hit yesterday by the Braves. The Mets are the goofy Mets. They are, but they're actually playing good ball. They're a good team to bet on because the odds are going to be going against them because they're in last place at 15 games under 500. But you know what? They're 18-13 since the All-Star break, 11-4 since the trade deadline, Joe, when they traded about 8 guys, literally. I mean, they got rid of their entire bullpen and everything else, and they played well. I mean, why? How? I don't know how. But you know what? Don't fight it after a while. And they're beating some good teams. Took 2 out of 3 against San Diego. I mean, so they're not, they're not getting knocked around by, or they're not beating a bunch of lousy teams. They're actually beating good teams. So I think the Mets at plus 130, 135 tonight with Minaya on the hill. He's as good as Burke, both right around 500. I think they're a live dog tonight. I think they're a live dog all series, to tell you the truth.
You're liking the Mets to get it done. All right, so what do you do with the Guardians here tonight that are in Colorado? Is this a place they can actually get some reliable offense, Scott? Because this offense of the Guardians drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. Second, third fewest runs in baseball. Third fewest home runs behind Toronto and Milwaukee. I mean, they just can't hit their way out of a paper bag, right? 4 games under 500. Season's over, right? No, they're 1 game out of a wild card spot. They're right there, They win a couple of games against Colorado. Maybe the Mets win 1 or 2 against Chicago, and they're back in the division race, only 4.5 back. So you got Guy Gordon pitching for the Rockies. He was a starter, then he went to the bullpen. I think they're now starting him again. So I don't think it's going to be a bullpen by committee game for Colorado. Cantillo's on the hill for the Guards. So if they don't win tonight, with one of their better pitchers on the hill, then it would be a stay away. But I like them tonight. I think they find a way to get it done. One of those teams that was in a nasty 7-17 slump. I mean, they were in a real major funk, but maybe they're breaking out of it here a little bit. They won 2 out of 3 in their last series. I forget who they were playing, but I know they did. So I'll take the Guards tonight on the road.
All right, taking the they are so frustrating. It's not even funny, to be honest. But I also don't like what I've seen from Houston. We'll talk more about this game coming up here, Scotty. But how you lose like you did to the Angels last night, you want to talk about where are the bats? Where you have a triple crown contender on this lineup on this team. You've got one of the better bullpens in Major League Baseball, and you can't score runs. And it's driving me nuts with this Houston ad. Now, the good news is they are playing a AAA team tonight, Scotty. But that doesn't have me running to the window. This would be a spot I should want to lay the 1.5. But you know what? Can't get it there. I cannot trust this offense right now to score enough. So we'll talk about those Astros. We'll talk about the Texas Rangers coming up. We got a lot to get to as Game Time decisions getting you ready here on the grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS, but then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game time decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel getting you ready for a full slate of Major League Baseball here tonight. And Scotty, let's pick it up from that Houston team taking on the Athletics. But again, Houston embarrassed themselves last night against the Angels. And while the Athletics are nothing more than a AAA team, where is the offense right now in Houston? Where is it?
Yeah. Well, you lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels, Joe, who are just awful anywhere, but especially on the road. They opened up a 9-game homestand against a losing team in Seattle and a losing team in the LA Angels, and they're 2-4. So they got another losing, last place team in the Athletics coming to town. But who's to say? You never know with this Astro team. I mean, how are you 2-4 on a 9-game homestand, in which you actually came in playing halfway decent, but just awful. But the A's 8-24 since the All-Star break, one injury after another. JT Ginn's not a bad pitcher, and then you got Winooski for the Astros. I wouldn't be taking. I had him a couple of times, so I'm especially mad, including last night. Nice pick, Scott, laying $170, and they lose 18-3. But I would not be trusting this Astro team. So you want to take a flyer on the A's? We'd get on the mound, who's actually not too bad. Maybe you do that for a couple shekels if you just want some action on it. But I'm definitely not taking Houston.
You can't, right? I mean, there's just no way you can. I would love to, but you can't. Now, the Royals are interesting. They're at home, suddenly red hot Royals with Noah Cameron on the mound, taking on Detroit tonight, Scotty. And, they finally started to hit the ball here for Kansas City, which is nice. They got, I believe, Garcia back for a couple of games. Then he pulled his hamstring, and now he's gone again. But Noah Cameron has been lights out for him over the last month here. And Detroit's starting to come back to reality a little bit offensively. Melton has been good, but it feels like Melton is due for a blow-up. What do you like in this one here tonight?
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll buy into the under. It's kind of strange, right? We had 6 earlier today. We had the Yankee game at 7.5, and now this one's 8.5. It's like, wow, how is this 8.5 with these two guys? You said that Cameron's pitched very well, left-handed pitcher as well. Melton's got an ERA under 2, and they're giving us 8.5 as an over/under, not 7 or 7.5. Boy, that's kind of weird. I'm going to bite and I'll complain when it's 5-3 in the 5th inning. KC 19 games under 500, but you know what? They've won 5 in a row and they're only 8.5 back. I mean, I think it's too late. They have to overtake too many teams, but it just goes to show how bad the American League is. You mentioned Garcia. Looks like he's not going to play. He's got a hamstring injury. Brutal loss for the Tigers yesterday. Just brutal to Pittsburgh, Joe. They had a 3-2 lead, 9th inning, and Kenley Jansen comes in the 9th inning, gives up the tying home run and then the game-winning walk-off home run. He's blown 5 saves, 5 games this year. He's got 18 or 16 saves, but he's blown a number of these games. So tough loss for Detroit. So, but I'll buy. I'll give it the under 8.5, even though I know it's got sucker written all over it.
I think Noah Cameron keeps them in check for most of this game here. But another offense I can't trust, Scotty. They barely won last night, and that's Texas. They are at home. Gore on the mound against Detmers, and suddenly, listen, say what you want about the Angels. They still have that first 5 or 6 guys in the order can still hit. And believe it or not, the bullpen hasn't been terrible over the last week. And Detmers is fantastic. I thought he'd be on another team by now. I thought he was one of the big trade targets. But Detmer is on the road against Texas. Is it an under? Because I've seen nothing but under money coming in here today.
Yeah, maybe. But that Texas team is usually a dead under team, especially at home where you're thinking that ballpark summer, the ball would be flying out of there, but that just hasn't been the case. And you're right, that the Angels, written off for dead, right? There's a lot of these teams are, but then all the pressure is off them. They make all the trades, they get rid of some guys. And, actually over the last 2 weeks, they're pretty good. What, 5, 6, 7? They're 8 and they're 8-5. They're the last 13 games. That's nothing to shake a stick at. So again, you look for live dogs sometimes, and man, I hate betting them. I just do, but they played much better. So I'm not going to lay. It's only $1.38. But Texas they're an enigma, right? Just like Seattle, just like Houston, and like all teams, they just can't put good streaks together. So I would go with the Angels plus the 130.
I don't hate it. Don't hate that at all here. I just nothing about this Texas team do I like or find redeeming here right now. It's unfortunate, but I'm not buying it there. We talked about, you want to talk about losing in epic fashion. What the Reds did yesterday should be criminal. Should be criminal the way they lost that game to the Cardinals with 2 outs in the 9th inning and a lead. And the guy drops a routine fly ball there. But they get to shake it off and head to Arizona, who has one of their best players doesn't show up for games, apparently. Now he's on the IL, but he's also on the restricted list. Can the Diamondbacks, they should. I love Rodriguez at home against Lodolo here. Diamondbacks should win this game, but the Reds are just embarrassing at this point.
Yeah, why are they only a minus 140 or so favorite? Arizona at home, Joe. That's what 12-4.
No Marte.
Eduardo Rodriguez. Is that it? I mean, the dude's been great. Rodriguez. He's had his issues off the field, but he's had a terrific season. He's got the 4th most quality starts in baseball this year.
Crazy.
16. He's at home. You got a last place Reds team in town. I don't know Marte, but didn't have Marte yesterday when he put the 10-11 runs on the board, whatever it was against the Red Sox. That's kind of strange that he would, they would only be minus 140 or so. But again, I'll bite. It's one of those things where, if you're going to bite on all these lines you think are bad, then go ahead. Don't bounce back if tonight's going to be that I'm going to just bite on all of them. You know what? And if I end up going 0-3, 0-4, then so be it.
Yep, I agree. But sometimes if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, Scotty, guess what? Yeah. It's a duck. Don't look for reasons not to play it. But there are a couple of games out west late night here that I think are very interesting. Could we see the return of Joe Musgrove tonight pitching for the Padres? We'll let you know what's going on there as Game Time decisions getting you ready here on the Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS. But then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel as we get ready to finish up this edition and get ready for a little in-game live game day here. Plenty of action coming your way as Kevin Walsh, I believe Tom Vecchio will be in the seat here, and they'll get you all the live action. But what about these Padres here? All of a sudden might be getting a little more help. They were great at the trade deadline, right? They went out and got themselves Dusty May. They got Robbie Ray. Now it looks like good old Joe Musgrove might be back in action tonight at some point. Looks like Vasquez opening up. They are at home, and it looks like they're taking on the Twins, who we talked about. And the Twins have shown us if you sleep on them, they can bite you. So what are we doing here with this one tonight?
Yeah, and they're coming off a 3-game sweep of the Atlanta Braves, are the Minnesota Twins, and I didn't see that one coming. I must say, a pretty good series, right? Minnesota tied for the final playoff spot in the AL, and then you get the Padres up by a game for the final playoff spot in the National League. So good pitching matchup. Padres are coming off losing 2 out of 3 to the Mets, but overall, since the All-Star break, they're playing much better baseball. The bats have come alive, Joe. I mean, listen, that lineup is second to none on paper, back in the bubblegum card, as the saying goes, but they've just been dormant for the longest time. But over the last 2-3 weeks, the guys are hitting the baseball a little bit. So you got Vasquez. Let's see if you get a little bit of Musgrove tonight. Vasquez generally doesn't pitch, past the 5th or 6th inning, so you might. So I like San Diego at home. I don't trust Minnesota on the road. I'll take the Padres in this one. Later, halfway decent numbers. It's not that bad. What is it? Minus
117 right now. 117, 120, somewhere in that.
Yeah, right.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Yep. Now, Dodgers at home. Yamamoto against Bubba Chandler for Pittsburgh here, but the Dodgers have not been worthy of laying 230, 240 against anybody. They can't be trusted here. So, yeah, they swept Colorado, but who cares? They weren't winning on the run line either in some of those games. I mean, Dodgers should win, but Pittsburgh's gotten O'Neal Cruz back. They certainly can hit. So, I don't know. What do we think here?
Yeah, Dodgers are 53-75 on the run line this year, laying a run and a half. Right? I mean, that's 22 games under 500. Wow, that's been a struggle for them, right? But you can't lay minus 240, 250, whatever your number happens to be. And the Pirates can score some runs. They have the 3rd most runs. Who would picture Washington and Pittsburgh to be in the top 5 in runs scored in Major League Baseball this time of the year, right? It's crazy. But I'll take Yamamoto. I'll lay the run and a half. I know going in, it's the home team. Only bats the 8 times, theoretically. They did, cover 2 of the 3 games in Colorado, though it wasn't easy, I will say. But I can't bet Pittsburgh. And I'm not laying minus 2.5. So maybe Yamamoto to if your site offers this to get the actual win, and that usually drops the line way down. So hopefully they get the Chandler and he leaves after 6 innings, with a nice 5-2 lead, and the Dodgers win the game.
I don't know, man. I think the problem is all they've done is given me value to back Pittsburgh here. Right. So maybe take Pittsburgh in the first 5 here. And then don't forget, Pittsburgh's bullpen is a million times better than it was for what they did and who they went out and got there at the trade deadline. But I don't trust the offense right now, the Dodgers. But this could be home runs could make the difference here, and both teams can actually hit them. All right, I don't know what happened. Maybe St. Louis hurt us. All they do is win games. It's already 2-0 against Philadelphia. They scored 2 at the top of the first against Luzardo. What is that number now? Can we get Philadelphia? Can we jump in now here, Scott, at a better number?
Yeah, definitely, right? They are getting it's locked. It's locked right now. Bottom of the first inning. They got 2 runners on. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Minus -120. So they got runners on first and third. Looks like 1 out. So you're getting to basically pick them, and now it's even. So you're not even getting odds. As crazy as that sounds, down 2-0. So not much of a break. Not much of a break for the boys in Vegas on that one. You're better off, hoping they don't score. Yeah. Actually, they didn't score. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Our guy did it again, Joe. Baez hit a home run. The guy's got a home run.
Are you serious? Yeah. And you were just making fun of him, Scotty.
I know. I know. I was making fun of him, right? Guy's got 5 hits in the majors, and he's got 4 of them are home runs. How crazy is that?
Yeah, absolutely unreal. Well, the good news is much more coming your way. All the games, in fact, in-game live game day is straight ahead. Scotty and I will see you again on Monday for another edition of Game Time Decisions. Enjoy it. We'll see you again here in-game live game day straight ahead on the grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
It's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS, but then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live here on SportsGrid.